That's what I love about like jokes are more literal, and I'm really into like talking and the immediacy of like addressing a heckler. Like there's things I like about it, but then like songwriting is my thing I've done the longest, and I think a song is more kind of like it's open to whatever. It's like smells or something where it's like tied to your memory in some more less literal way. So there's more of a magic there. Like a joke is kind of like you sort of know what they're saying and you get it, whereas a song is.
But are
like,
you picking out words like a song? Like
I try to chisel it down. So that's like my favorite joke tellers kind of do it like songwriting. Like
that's
like
cool.
The way like you do it. It's like simple, like you chisel away what's not needed. You're not trying to be like too smart.
Yeah.
Or that's off-putting.
Yeah.
Like you want to keep it simple and
you
like
don't want
zen.
people to know that you're smart.
Yeah, right? That's a big part like of my favorite comedians are the ones like a really smart person not acting so smart.
Well, do jokes like hit you like a song? Like you'd be like skipping down the street and you're like, oh my God, here it is. I got to write it down.
I mean, I won't cry. Like
or wake up in the night and you're like, oh, that's so funny, and take a note.
There's like the Venn diagram. There is some of that, but it's like the range of emotion. Like I don't think a joke will make me like weep or something. Like a song kind of is just like people
pretty much just want to laugh or get.
But then a joke can make me like change my mind about the world. So it's like I think they're the same thing. That's like part of this podcast. And like musicians is like, it's making sounds, it's tone, it's rhythm. It's trying to like, you have an idea and you're up there trying to, it's the same. It's just like instead of having the armor and the people, you got like a stool and a mic. So it's almost like a more minimal version of songwriting. You know?
Oh yeah, because you don't have anything.
Yeah, you're just naked. So that's scary, but then you don't have to like schedule practices and load all the fucking drums in. So it's eeasy too.
You're just like, oh, this microphone.
Yeah.
So heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool about it. I'm excited. I'm proud of you. When I heard you, as soon as I think we went to like a random night, it was at Rabbit before COVID or during COVID. I can't remember. It was like the first night we'd gone out. I think it was COVID, and you were up there, and I was like, he's so funny. He's so much. You were the funniest of all the comedians.
Oh, that's nice.
I was like, damn, yes, of course he's good at it because you're good at everything.
Oh, that's crazy.
I'm a fan.
Because I'd never felt that way. I mean, I was like, I think the whole time when I would play on your songs, I was just like, how's she do it? How's she? It's
what?
It has like simple, you know what? It's like, there's just something like.
I thought the same thing about you.
I feel like when something's really complicated, you can just debate all day whether it's good or not. But when something's simple, you just know. And
awesome.
And the older I get, the more I'm like, that's the kind of shit, the art I want to make.
That's good. Well, with my visual art, I actually have been playing music again.
Yes.
But I recorded a record like right after Gin and the Juice. I had like I let my life explode. Looking back on it, I definitely had an existential crisis at that moment. I didn't call it that. I called it like a life change. But then someone else was like, no. You can flip the switch on your life and change everything. Existential crisis is what they call it. I'm like, okay, well, whatever. It was awesome. I loved it. I was glad I could make changes, but I was like getting real tired of like the on-stage paradigm. Like, I'm up here and I'm better than you and you're down there. And so many people were like, Jenny, we want to play with you. We want to sing with you. How did you get on stage? And asking me that so much that I was like, why don't you just get on stage and I will like go sit down in the crowd and try to come up with something else. And so that's like my new project, which is making group noise songs and group noise.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah. So trying to figure out in a world where most like, well, this is going to be long-winded. So please
let's do it. That's
have
why
that's
exactly what it is.
Gong, yeah. You're rambling, Jenny. But I had the creative apex or whatever was like, realizing that in politics and in the internet and like content that was being people in business and jobs not voicing how they felt about things that were going wrong, like people just not using their voice. That was the issue I was seeing. Like most people don't vote. Most people don't participate in the conversations they're reading online. They just read them.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. So I'm like, how could I use music to like make people talk? What is the most simple thing I could do to make a group of people communicate with sound? Group sound, So that was and then we'll all be a band. Instead of when we record it, we'll be like, what does this particular group of people sound like?
Yeah.
So every group is making the like has a so for example, so I did a thing at Creative Mornings, which you could check out Creative Mornings and probably find the video, but it was called the comb over.
Put it down in the links down there.
Links. So it's called the comb over. So everybody in the audience got a hair comb, which was about 8 inches long. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, just a classic. Like,
and then a stadium cup. They got a plastic stadium cup that happened to say comb over. It said to play your instrument comb over cup. So you take the comb.
Like it's just like a solo cup?
Yeah.
Is that what a stadium, like just a plastic?
Yeah, it's a little nicer than a solo cup.
Okay.
It's a stadium cup.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because solo cups will break. So you take the comb and you comb over the cup, and it makes basically the crickety sounding cricket sound. But there's a few different ways to play it. But that's the basic technique. The comb is not a comb, it's a toothed instrument. So everyone in the audience, there was 100 plus people there, and everyone had an instrument. And so I walked them through how to play. So you can play it by scraping it up, and that makes a sound, or you can like put your comb in the cup and shake the cup, which makes a different sound. And then there was like 4 other ones I can't remember, but I went through the whole thing, and I used comb over references with because everybody all the men in my family have male balding and they comb over. So I was like, so for the next one we'll comb over. Anyway, I thought I was having the funnest time. But then when I say me and Matt Williams, I got him to kind of like help me rail it in. Like I needed someone to bounce this ridiculous idea off, like getting a bunch of people to comb over a cup and make a song. So he kind of helped me compose a song, which felt like, if you were in the audience, it felt like Guitar Hero. So if you saw a red flash come up, that meant, and you were a scraper, you would start scraping your cup. And then it would turn to blue, and that would be the tappers. They'd start tapping.
You've sequenced the song with it visually?
So if you were in the audience, you knew what your sounds you're supposed to make. So, but they were kind of like mixed up all over the room. So, when it was tapping time, no matter where you were, it sounded like a bunch of people tapping. Then they scrape. Then they put it in the cup. And then there was also drop the cup, which also made like a raindrop sort of now. So, I think the audience really enjoyed it. And it was...
Did the audience come for this, or was there other stuff happening too?
Creative Mornings happens once a month.
Okay.
At Citizen Vinyl, and it's usually a talk where someone shows their work or talks about all kinds, anything.
So there's kind of like this is a recurring thing, and people are coming with like an open mind, and they're ready to.
I guess.
Okay.
I did warn them. I was like, you're gonna have to do something today. We're not just sitting here consuming. We're going to create together.
Right.
And I think that's as an artist. That's what I want to do with my art, is like figure out and I know just stay on my own, not drift off, but like that's what I want to do. I want to figure out how to wake people up. You can drift
too. We embrace you can go on a tangent and never come back. And at the end of the tangent, you can say things you don't even agree with tomorrow. Like just so you know.
So going back to simplicity, like that's what Matt kept being. And also the people that put it on, they own Horse and Hero and they're the ones that do Big Crafty.
Yeah.
They do Creative Mornings. They're the ones that like book the people. And so I was talking to Justin's so supportive and nice. I just messaged him and I was like, can I just do like a 10-minute experiment? I don't want to do the whole show. I just want to like see if I can get away with this, if people get it, like.
Yeah, 10's long. Like comment, like when you're just up there doing something weird.
But this was like 30 minutes and people enjoyed it. I mean, I think it went.
It sounds like something they've never experienced before. Like, I
thought that people were going to call me and be like, you got to come over to our school and do a come over, but I didn't. But no one ever did, which also feels really great. Just to not care, just to make art for making art, and not being like, "What's gonna happen?" Being like, "Well, that didn't work that way, so I just got to keep trying different things." But I still have 200 combs and like a shit ton of cups, so I'm ready. If anybody needs a comb over experience.
Yeah, I mean, that's the nice thing about getting to this age, too, is I do comedy with people in their 20s that are like, what if I make it to being fan? And here it's kind of like, you can sort of see like health decline and death, I don't know if that's too morbid, but like just being here to have a weird experience, like it's not the idea that it's going to get me to some next fame or whatever. It's like that. I've really let go of that, and it's helped me really enjoy making art a lot more.
Oh, yeah. I read this book about time during COVID. And it was talking about the history of time and how we got straddled to it for our existence.
Yeah.
And it was basically like, you're going to die. Like you're basically dying right now. So if there's something you want to do, you're not going to be Michelangelo. Just freaking do it and do it the best you can, because you could die literally, and no one's going to care regardless what you did. So just do it.
Yeah, everybody's just thinking about themselves. Like, get over it and just go make an ass of yourself on stage.
Exactly.
That's cool.
Comb over some cups, and I don't know.
I mean, and I'm talking about comedy, not your thing,
comedy.
but like
Yeah.
you get humiliated a lot up there. Like it doesn't always go well. So that's like kind of part of it. Is you like the most embarrassing thing that can happen is everybody sees you fail, and then you do it like 100 times. You're like, I'm fine. Like, I think I'm better because of that, you know? Like,
that's really cool.
A lot of the things you said kind of remind me of comedy, because like it's always going to be like, who's in the room and what are they laughing at today?
True.
So it's like the whole comb over thing where it's like you can do it one night and then the next night there's different people laughing at different stuff, and without their sounds the joke didn't work. So it's not like here's the song. It's more like what is this collective experience?
I love that.
So it's a little bit more like that, like breaking the fourth wall and just being like trying to be confident enough to go up there with a plan, but also being able to just go with what happens. Whereas I think
that's more about it.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe.
No, I think for me it is. It's like
don't you have to respond on the spot?
Yeah, and that's like that was always my biggest fear with music. Is somebody like I'll sing the songs, but then somebody starts shouting at you, and you don't know how to do that. So comedy's kind of like just that part, and it turns out that part's actually more fun than trying to play the sad songs, trying to make everyone miserable with your like brilliant sad songs.
Yeah, I think like towards the end of me playing out a lot, I did begin to feel like I could make a difference with the songs I wrote. It was always about my parents pissing me off as a teenager, dumb songs or things that happened in my 20s that I was still singing the same old songs, and I wanted to help people, and I didn't want that in the beginning. I didn't know that was possible, and I don't know. And then I was
like having an intention for what it's going to be. I think like
someone said something to me like music is a conversation between you and your audience, and I was like, not mine.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm just playing for you whether you're listening or not. Wall. That's what they were to me.
Yeah,
and I think I just grew out of that, and I want to change, and I don't know.
So do you still like during this? I don't know how long the hiatus, you like the existential and Stop and Jen, that you just like. Has it been like 10 years or something like that? Some amount of time? Like, do you still kind of like get a little? Does the muse still kind of like send you a little melody? And do you sit down and do a voice memo, or do you just kind of be like during that time? Did you scrapbook melodies and stuff? Or
I haven't wanted to. No, it hasn't come as songs anymore. Not so much. I do bust out some songs, and I wrote a song for Layla, and I just wrote it down because I was like, this is a pretty good little ditty I just made up. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I don't feel. But I do have dreams and feel like I am guided by dreams and stuff like. And actually, if you want to hear a story about.
Of course.
It's a dream story.
Do dreams mean like what you want? Or you mean like literal, you're asleep at night?
Yeah, a dream. And I'll just preface this dream telling with like, I feel like telling a dream is like describing a painting to someone, and they're like, mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, you don't really know if it actually makes sense. They're like, yeah. So I'm not sure if the story makes sense, but I had this dream, and I have this book. I don't have like powerful dreams every night, but sometimes I do, and it's a full-on story, and I want to write it out, like, because I'm like, this is a good story. This, and back to me describing the painting, like maybe it is, maybe it's not, but to me it makes a lot of sense. So I dreamed that there was this woman named Debbie, and she every day she had this thing about ringing a bell. So she'd get up and she'd ring a bell. And everyone in the town, like it or not, they knew it was her, and that was her thing. And then one day she woke up and someone had stolen her bell. Someone in the town had stolen her bell. Yeah. They're like, we don't want you to ring that bell anymore. And they just came up and took it off her porch or whatever.
Nobody wants to hear your fucking bell every day.
Like, it was malicious. And so it took a while for anyone to even notice that she had stopped ringing the bell, because it was just one of those things, like, I don't know. And so, but one day, finally, some of the townspeople were like, Debbie, where's your bell? And she's like, oh, someone stole it, like, whatever, it doesn't, it's no consequence or whatever. And so they were like, so they went and they battled, and I was one of the people, and I went and got her bell back, and I was like, we saved your bell. And we wanted to have this like proud moment of her ringing her bell. And so she got her bell back and she rang the bell. And we were like, and all is well in the little town. Good night. And that was the end of the story. And so I was like, that's a great story. I helped Debbie get her bell back. But then months later, I was like, what does that dream really mean? And I was like, dear universe, tell me what this dream means. And they were like, you're Debbie, Jenny.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh. And then it just really put in perspective how important what I was doing was. It's important and not important. You know what I mean? Like, it matters and doesn't matter. You just ring your fucking bell, Jenny, wake up. So then that's when I started doing the come over and starting to put other projects that were on the back burner back out, because I'm like, I'm just going to ring the bell and not worry about it, you know?
I like it. You said it matters and it doesn't matter. Like, that's like kind of more and more like what everything is starting to be to me. And that triggered a memory. I remember like back when we were talking about songwriting 20 years ago, one time you said something that like, I thought I was the only one that had this thought, but you were like, if I'm doing a chorus and I mentioned like up, you know, maybe the next line could be down or something, you know what I mean? Like, and I was like, yeah, that's like, you know, two opposite things are kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
And like with this kind of like stories and songs that don't literally mean something, like holding dichotomy, you know, holding like opposites. Yeah. That's just a powerful thing I see.
And that's what art should be. It should make you be sitting there in the middle and being like, that's what I love about a good dream. It's like, wow. Sometimes it can be so, like, to me, I have these dreams. I feel like they make so much sense. Then I babble them out to an audience and they're like, Well,
that's the first time though. I bet that, I mean, that's the cool thing about talking to an audience is like, I realized I would just be in my bedroom making a song with a laptop and then be like, it's done. But it's they're editing you in real time, you know, like you're going, this is a perfect dream to say. And then you're like, okay, well, that part they were confused. And then that part they laughed. I didn't even know that was the funny part. Let's spend some more time there.
That's cool.
And they're kind of like editing you. So if you can keep bringing the dream up for different audiences,
that's a good idea.
They'll edit. You just kind of, if you're paying
Don't
attention
you love
to
that
them.
about people though? I love that about people. I had this other project where I had to tell a story to like 1,000 people. And that's exactly what happened, because you tell it. And it's kind of like the same thing as like a server describing a meal to a bunch of people. Like, I bet if you say the same instructions over and over again, they're going to edit. And I think that process of human editing is freaking beautiful.
Yeah, because you want them to receive it. I mean, like, I'm not,
want them to understand.
Yeah, like, I'm not saying I don't care. Like, I do care. I want them to like it, you know?
That's awesome.
So it's like, let them change it, you know? And don't be like, they're dumb, they didn't get it. It's like, no, you're dumb. It wasn't good. And you have to make it better.
Yeah, I love that. That's cool to think about. You get to do that. That's awesome.
So do you remember, because like with me with dreams, it's like, I'll go through phases where I get up and I journal in the morning. And then, you know, I've come to realize, like, if I don't write it down in the first 10 minutes, like, it's completely gone. Unless something happens during the day that triggers it. And then you go, oh, wait, there was a whole dream there. Like, will you remember your dreams?
If I don't write them down?
Like, you don't have to, like scramble to record it in those first 5 minutes. Like, you'll just kind of wake up and remember a dream all day?
I think sometimes yes, and most of the time probably no. Just depends on what it is, what it was. 'Cause some of them are just so powerful. Like, I'm like, it feels like a vision. Like, it feels like something bigger than you is talking to you, you know. And that's why when I felt like, what is this Debbie's bell thing? Is how is this gonna help me? Why am my brain thinking of this? And then actually, when I realized that Debbie was me, I burst into tears and wept, because I thought, shit.
Well, I mean,
I don't have to take myself so seriously. Like,
it still kind of feels like that guy might come back and take it again. Though, like, do you have a feeling about where it's left? Like,
I think that's what it is. It always is at risk of someone fucking it up.
So you just kind of know, like, if you give a shit about your bell, you might have to go.
You just ring the bell because it's what you do. And I think that's what gets in the way of so many artists. It's like, it doesn't need to be more than what you do.
Like, you mean like getting enough followers?
Like,
or,
you know you're an artist. Just do your thing.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it so much. Just ring your basic bell.
Well, a lot of the best, I think I remember us talking about this 20 years ago. It may have been you that, like, like a lot of the best art is never out there. Like you'll like go over to somebody's house back in your 20s and they'll have some roommate that's like, I wrote a song, and it's like it's the most amazing thing, and he's just like, well, you're like, you should be out trying to get booked and desperately get people's attention, and he's like, I don't want to do that, and you're like, well, that's dumb, and then later you're like, I think that guy was a genius, you know, like he didn't need.
Well, that's why I loved all those songwriting competitions, and I like spotlighting. I like bringing people out of the woodwork and like creating a space for people to share their work, because I like finding that dude that you're describing, and just being like, thanks, you know, thanks for doing that. And I don't know.
A lot of it, I've seen a lot, because we've been around people trying to make art, and then who goes to the stage, and who I've just seen how much trying to do it publicly can destroy, like it can almost change it into something that's like distorted and bad, you know, like trying to keep your head right without the judgment and the and actually now your band's going up last and everybody goes along, and then you're at 1 a.m, everybody's gone.
Existential crisis.
Yeah, it's like enough of those, and you're just like, like, you know, like, why did I try to come out and take the day off work and spend all this energy trying to do this? Like, I guess I did need something in return, even though I didn't realize that I needed like them to give me something, and now I'm better that I didn't get it. You know, there's just a lot of like, it's hard to, like, a lot of people aren't left in their 40s. Like, you know, in high school we were all in bands, and I think it's this kind of thing. It'll just grind you down. You're like, why am I trying to put my soul out there? You know?
Yeah, I'll give you another to Debbie's bell, like it's over there. But the other one is because you're a tomato plant, and what you do is you make art, which equals tomatoes. This is another like way I justify making art, is that I'm a tomato plant. Have you ever had a tomato plant in your yard that like makes a shit ton of tomatoes? Yeah. Do you think the tomato plant gives two shits whether you eat the tomatoes or not?
I guess not.
It doesn't care. That's my approach to making art.
Yeah.
The tomato plant's approach, which is like, sure, you want to put yourself in the right place in the garden if you had a choice, but you don't have a choice. You literally don't. There's the environmental, it just happens. And so, but what you want to do is make your best tomatoes for what you're capable of, and don't worry about like if someone's going to make a nice sauce out of your tomatoes.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, this is crazy. I told that story, and I had this thing I did at Center for Craft to the people, because I was going through this whole like justifying doing art, like what you're saying, older, like, why am I doing this? And the reason I'm doing this because I just fucking make tomatoes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't help it. It's what I do. I'm not going to try to stop myself anymore. That's what I've decided. Anyway, so
that's relatable.
There's a planter out in front. And it's like, they have nice planters with plants in them, but there is a volunteer tomato plant growing in that. I'm like, what? Thank you, universe. Like, why is there in this pot downtown, in the middle of downtown, a random tomato plant growing out of this pot?
Yeah. Like, did somebody...
Things like that just make you be like, yes, I'm an artist.
Yeah, like the grass coming up through the concrete or something.
Yeah. Except for you told a story about your tomato plant, and then you walk into the building where you're trying to do something difficult and potentially fall on your face.
I thought you were going to say it's like a tomato plant, because this is like where my head went, is it's like I write nothing for 11 months, and then I get all my ideas for the year, and I'm like, I'm late to pick up my kid, but the muse is like, now you're getting all...
Exactly.
Like it's not... Like, ideally, it'd be like one good joke or song a week, but it's more like nothing and then a bunch.
Yeah.
And then there's like, they're kind of rotting, and you've got too many, and you're trying to give them away. And people are like, well, everybody's tomatoes are... Yeah. This is August. We don't need tomatoes.
The more I analyze that, like, it's just true. Like, it feels like that sometimes when you're making art.
Yeah, I mean, this is cool. You're talking about like these metaphors and dreams and stuff. And I feel like that is kind of like... jokes are just more literal and storytelling, but this world, this is like the songwriting world.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, do you like I've never written a song I like where I've had an intention to write about. It's kind of like I'm just making sounds, and then later those sounds are exactly how I was feeling, you know, or like the breakup was about to happen, and I didn't even realize I'd written a song about it before. You know, you look back at the songs, and you're like, you are channeling some other thing if you can get out of the way.
I'd like to believe that. I mean, I don't know. I believe that. I wouldn't say I like to. I do believe that. I don't believe it. Maybe it doesn't always happen, but I think you don't choose it, it chooses you. And that's why if you read a million books about being an artist, like just show up to your craft and do the work. Be consistent.
Yes.
And, that's the hard part for people. And I actually think consistency could be whatever it is to you. It's not like once a day or once a week. It could be once every 5 years. Just show up when you're ready. Keep showing up. Don't stop showing up.
That's interesting because I think we're both like creative people that can like work a calendar and function in the world. Yeah. And, I like some of the best comedians are just like, they can never write an email or show up or, be consistent. So, I mean, it's kind of sad that some of the best art you don't hear about for that reason. They just can't like work the modern world. But oh man, what was I gonna? What did you just say before that? I lost it.
I'm sorry.
No, I had something. Well, it'll come back if it's meant to. Tapping into that like the other realm,
whatever it is. Which actually, I think. Potentially.
Every day. Okay, wait. I have to say, like, there's this book called Daily Rituals. This is a book that you familiar with it?
I've heard of it.
I give it to people sometimes, and I'm trying to move away from it because I can get too rigid. But it's like the whole point of the book is like kind of what I heard you say, where it's like artists don't wait for inspiration to happen; they show up and they do the work each day. And there's like it's like 2 pages on like 500 artists like Hemingway and writers and people that have done these amazing things, and they're all like, some of them had like kids and a job, and they were like, I get up at 5 a.m. And it's like, how do you write 100 novels? It's like, well, if you write 1 or 2 good pages a day, at the end of the year, that's 360 pages, and that's a novel. And then over the years, so this idea that you make time and you're actually disciplined about creativity is like works pretty well. But then I can get to being too, where I'm like, it's 5 a.m. and then you're kind of like too rigid. Yeah. And it doesn't work.
I'm with you. Exactly. I've done the same thing. I mean, I used to get so frustrated when Layla was a baby. She's 9 now, but this was like pre-4-year-old. I would get up at like 4 o'clock expecting to have time. And she would wake up.
She'd hear you like, Mom.
Mama. And I was like, oh, well. There's just certain times in life you just can't do it. But I do appreciate. I have created a ritual for when I wake up in the morning, and I don't make myself anymore, but I have been through periods of it. And I do think I do agree that it's something powerful about it, doing it on the daily.
Did you grow up like with religion? Like it's the way you talk about, dreams and the universe, like it almost feels a little like there's something, maybe some, I don't like the word spiritual. I don't like labeling any of this stuff, but like, do you feel like there's something like that?
Well, I definitely I'm from what I call the LA, which is Lower Alabama, which is the most conservative place. It's so different than here. Yeah. And I did learn about God and all that stuff. And I think all that God did, all learning about, sorry, anyone that's a Christian, I totally respect Christians, and I'm not trying to say anybody's right or wrong, but for me, it was like, it opened me up to the mystical, to the fact that there could be a force, and I just questioned the definition of God. That's what broke me away from the church, because I was in college and I was like, really? You think God can't create a religion for every different type of person? What's wrong with you? Of course he can. He's God. He can do that. And I believe that, and I'm not going to be rigid with this anymore. So you can be rigid, but it's not my choice. and then being in Asheville, you get exposed to a lot of, different things. And I mean, everything from like plant medicine, people talking to plants, to like rocks, to vortexes. Yeah, I think I accidentally dated someone that did voodoo at one point, because we were up in the morning and I heard this voodoo, some sort of chant, and I was like, what is happening here?
See, I was kind of, when I moved here, I was kind of a little more like, this is so hippie.
Yes.
And I was almost a little more like, it could be a little more hipstery, and now I'm way like, I miss when it was just like the voodoo guy was just out there in front of Laughing Seat. Like I really miss that. Like I think there's something different. Like there's still pockets of it, but it was so like that then. And now that I'm like older, I'm just like, I don't have time for any of that pretentious hipstery. Like I just I like the unabashed like. embarrassing, like just owning what you are, that appeals to me. Like hanging out with kids kind of warps your I've been hanging out with kids doing finger paintings for 15 years, so I kind of like it, like the messy hippy dippy stuff now.
Yeah I don't know. I've read some. I think I got a. I'm sure there's so many artists that have done the artist way. Is that how you started doing your daily thing?
And it's funny that yeah. I mean that. I feel like every other podcast it comes up because is like, and I love it. Like no matter what art you're in, that book is the shit.
Yeah, it's good for what you're saying about consistency. It kind of gives you the recipe for it, but then she has a new book, and it's like something. You just seeking the knowing or something. I can't remember, some sort of title like that.
Same author?
Yeah. And I read that recently, and it adds more time into your daily time commitment. But it's like, actually the Artist's Way is a religious book. It's like mentions God multiple times, and I kind of appreciate that because I do feel like
I'm using the word God again. I'm into it.
Yeah,
I don't gender God anymore because I have daughters, and I don't exclusive. But I think like God is whatever we're all part of.
Stop thinking
it's
that
where the songs
artists
come from.
Are channeling God or like in touch with God, or that all the art. You can't possibly. I mean, I like believing that the Bible's still being written today, and like people are still being called by God to write these songs and all these things. And if we don't acknowledge that it's working through us, then like. I like the thought that it could. And so I'm like, universe, I am fully available for your service. I'm here, and like, I want to do something really great. I really want to help people, and I'm here. And I actually had this new like thing running in my head. So I quit my day job so everyone else doesn't have to if they can't. I need to show up with that much tenacity. Because I've been able to do what I want to for like 20 years.
Yeah.
And most people wish they could. So I need to take that and like use it.
Oh, I love that. I mean, I moved by everything you just said. And I mean, there's just the idea that like you just write, 2 pages a morning or something, and you can literally like not ever look at that again. It doesn't matter what is written. It's the doing, just having it come out. Like I really believe that will transform your soul and life in a way where like even if those pages are you just burn them immediately like like you've opened the portal, like you've made a little time to like
you're making me want to start doing it again.
God or whatever you want to call it, the mysticism, like the creativity. And then I sometimes wonder, it's like because we're just so creative, like that's one thing I'm doing right with my kids. We're just all like I'm screwing up in other ways, but like expressing yourself creatively every day, like we will validate that forever. And but there's some people that don't seem to need to do that or want to do that. Like, do you think everyone should be like, is it just some of us that are compelled? Like I'm always like, should everyone be doing the Artist's Way? Would that be a utopia, or do we actually need the ones not to do it so we could be the special ones? Or like, do you have any feelings about that?
I don't. No, actually, don't. I don't think so. I don't think everyone's supposed to be a leader. I don't think everyone's supposed to be I don't think everyone's supposed to be a dentist. Everybody's supposed to be an artist.
Yeah.
I think if you study any of the spiritual texts, it's like you're given something special by God, and your job is to figure out what that is your entire life. If you figure it out when you're 92, about to die, then you've achieved your purpose here on earth. Maybe you have to wait that long, and that's why. My grandmother, we used to play cards, and she'd hold her cards till the end, and she'd whip our butts at the very end. I feel like there's all types. Some people come out out of the gate winning, and it just, you don't have a choice necessarily like the tomato plant where you're planted. You just have to I really honestly feel like you don't even have to worry. You just stay alive. Like feed yourself, try not to go insane.
Yeah.
And like
don't start doing opioids,
try to take care of your brain and your body and hang around these situations that are good for you. And if you're not, get the fuck out. But
I mean that's kind of where like this kind of interests me, because I think this is like if we were jamming, we're making sounds, we don't know. It's not like you brought a song in, we're just kind of like, well, who knows in 2 minutes where we'll be. But creating these this is like the Artist's Way. Like, but we're doing it with just by making words up instead of writing them down. We're just like saying them, but like we're sloshing around, and there's like themes that come up, and then afterwards I might write a joke or a song that has something that happened here in it, you know. So this to me is kind of like journaling or something like
I love
that.
that.
Or one of your songwriters groups, it's like, okay, well let's involve another person who's creative in it, because if it's just me, it's kind of more limited. So trying to create these little conditions for like the tomato, like throwing some seeds around town.
I think that if I was every January, I'm like, I can see something shifting. I can prepare the year for what could happen. And I really love graphic design and my career in graphic design. I don't feel unfulfilled as an artist doing that. I love it. I have great clients, and I just took a week off a couple weeks ago just to finish a bunch of artwork. So I'm capable of doing that and surviving. Still
digital art?
No, I'm making visual art. I'm still like,
you took time off doing digital art for like clients to just do like
I had a show at the Wedge, and I have so there's like the practice of making art that doesn't need to necessarily have a deep meaning. It's like the technique and like how good, I don't know. There's different.
It's like prayer, right? When it's happening right. Just the doing of it is like you're kind of like, time went away. Yeah. All my stress went away.
Yeah. I don't judge what I made, but I have a show coming up in November that I really want to, like you said, make a place where people can plant their seeds and just try to make some art together, because it's would be very long-winded to explain what I've done, but with recent art projects, but to have people, like you said, take the joke and help you tweak it until it makes sense. I want to do that for a full time. Because I think that's how we get those powerful works. I bet that's why the Beatles were so famous, because they played their songs so many times for so many different people,
right? And
you just eventually get it. It clicks. And I would like, I think also that for me, to take myself out of, to stand as like a proud, confident person is not receding into the background because they feel little old me needs to hide, you're not good enough, but can sit back and create and be confident enough to let everyone else do it together. I think this is like a challenge. And then,
no, for sure, it takes confidence to like not be the one that's most important.
Well, people don't respect you if you don't take credit, or they don't. I don't know. It's
It's one of those opposite things where it's like you have to be very confident and very humble at the same time, and it's almost like, well, which is it? It's like it's both. Yeah. Is it like that? Or
it's a craft. I mean, it's a skill. I think if that's the skill I would like. I don't want people. Well, maybe in the past I was shrinking and people pleasing. Maybe I was, but
I'm still trying to undo the people pleasing. That's a life. That's a tough one for me.
Well, this is what I did recently. I'll give you a tip on how to overcome that. And that is, I wrote this apology letter to myself, because I was so hard on myself. And that's one reason why you shrink, it's because you're being hard on yourself. And I guess maybe this isn't exactly that. But I was like, Jenny, I'm sorry. I intentionally, didn't do these things. And I would list all those things because I was because I was scared, and I was scared. Please forgive me. I won't be scared anymore. I'll try not to be scared. I'll try,
Scared of what? Like,
just scared of rejection, scared of standing out, scared of being big, scared of being yourself fully, scared of offending, or scared of a million things to be scared of.
Yeah.
No one will show up. Or you'll spend all your money, you'll waste your time. Your family will leave you. All the horrible things you could possibly think of. Just forgive yourself. I just said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I will try not to be self-defeating. I'll let other people do that. I will not do that to myself anymore. I won't intentionally not put my name on things because I want to shrink. I'm not doing that anymore, I guess. Does that make sense?
No, it does.
I'm sorry. Love Jenny.
A lot of that simple stuff that you've heard growing up, it's like forgiving yourself and loving yourself. It is hard. I mean, it's like having kids has really made me be like, because they'll just throw it all back at you.
Oh,
my kids, like the main things that I see them that are tough with them is like, it's my own, thing, bullshit, being like, reflected back at me. So it's like now it's like I have a real reason to try to fix it, or to try to at least like acknowledge it or talk about it, or move through it, instead of like it was easier to just kind of like deny it. But then when you have kids, it's like I don't know.
Yeah, mine's 9, so she's getting there.
Yeah, one of mine's about to turn 9, like in a few weeks, and the other one's like 13.
Yeah.
You just got the one, right?
Yeah. She actually, her and her friend, they started a band called Li Chicks.
Ooh.
But they found my music on the internet. I just hadn't really showed. I think I tried to show it to Layla a couple times, but I didn't want to like force it on her, be weird, like. And so then she started like asking me to listen to the songs. Did your kids ever ask you to listen to your songs?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
But I'm obsessed with drumming, so they hear me playing a lot of, and we have a piano in the house, and so it's like Emily was a music therapist when they were both insiders, so there was a guitar literally on. So music has just been like the water that the fish is swimming in for them. So it's like when they try to like do rhythm or pitch, it's like amazing. It's just in them.
Cool.
But then it's like I want them to come out here and jam with me. But when they can sense that I want it, it kind of like makes them not, like
not weird.
Yeah. So I haven't figured out the reverse psychology or, but yeah, I don't guess anyone's ever, but sometimes I'll have a new song. Like I still write songs and play them around the house. And sometimes like one will get stuck and they'll start singing it. And that's like that. They don't know what it says. Like, this is your song and you should play it, but I hear them humming it with their like sweet little voices, cute. And I'm like, there's no greater compliment.
I did think that when she kept asking me, I felt so bad. She kept asking me to put it in the car, or like put the CD. I have one of my records is on the CD. I never released it digitally, and then that's the one that song that you're on is, and maybe some from the other album too. But I need to play it for her, but I never want her. I remember, I think just probably her parents are so big, and like I don't want her to feel small. Like I don't want her to judge herself. That sounds weird, but like
I feel like she has to live up to something.
Or she seems to act that way sometimes. I don't know, but like I don't want her to think that her work's not good enough. Like that to me would be the worst thing. That's why I'd rather if she felt that way. But they're still so like their wires are completely. They're not. I don't know. She's still really open artistically right now. She hasn't been. The world hasn't.
I never even thought of that.
Broken her yet.
Because I'm always like talking and doing jokes and telling stories. I never thought maybe it's like
crushing your
quiet.
children.
I'm the one who
and maybe it's because she's. I don't know. I don't know if I'm in it. Maybe that's my own. I don't know. Parenting is a thing.
But my 13-year-old like loves writing and reading and character design. So it's like that's kind of the thing that she's done the most of. But she's doing like piano lessons and. Like for Christmas, she'll give me, she knows I just want to jam with her. So she'll give me like a coupon for 60 minutes. And I'll be like, I'm going to use 15 of that now. You're on drums. I'm on, guitar. So we kind of do a little bit of that. But I'm more just like comedy is music. This conversation is a jam. Like the farther along I get, it's just one kind of glowing orb of creativity.
I
and
love
it's
that,
whether you're writing those artist pages and tearing them up or you're like architecting a house. I mean, it's really just... If you're doing it the right way, it's like it's all just one.
I think so.
And that's kind of
like
just
you being you.
Yeah,
that's what it is, right?
And I never did figure out how to monetize that, and I'm glad I haven't because it's like I have, I do like web development, so it's like a good mix of creativity and money, but then it allows me to do my art whatever way I want. Like I'm not trying to chase money with it. I can literally follow the muse.
Yeah.
And I can quit a project if I'm not feeling it.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're like making your money off your art, sometimes I've seen you have to like stay in a business thing because it's like, well, this is my best client, but I fucking hate making it. Like,
well, I've met so many artists just being in the wedge, and because I'd kind of shifted my career because I want to be a visual artist. Or I am. I'm like you said, I'm all.
You're like the OG. You're like digital. You were doing digital art before it was even the thing.
I was like,
you like making art.
I had a computer with a mouse pad before.
Yeah, you were like you go do like to Leaf or something, and it would be like your art was like on stuff from a computer. It's like I don't even think we know about this yet. This is like you were like 10 years. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a really famous designer that I know that said, our first task is just to de-uglify the print world. That's how I felt in Asheville. It's like, it's so much better. There's so many great designers here now.
But with, there goes the camera just overheated. With your, with the wedge stuff, it's not that though. You're saying you're physically doing like pain or?
Well, I'm trying to do what is like personal work of just whatever I want, whatever I think I'm being called to make. However I can serve the community or the little garden bed I've been stuck in. That's what I want to make time to do. Is that weird?
Gotta sync it later. That's my little trick.
What time is it? Oh,
yeah. I mean, we've been talking for about an hour. Do you have
I do have a 2:15 meeting,
Okay.
but it's not.
Well, do you want to? I mean, I got a 2:30 meeting, but so.
We can talk a little more.
Yeah, let's talk a little
as
more.
long as you don't mind me running out the door.
No, that's great.
Just
I mean,
okay.
that's. What else is there to do? We'll
It's
just
fun,
do this,
right?
and then you just let me know when you need to stop. I got a 2:30 meeting, but once we get into it, it just starts going, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I knew it would.
I told you my sister left this morning, and I've been like kind of off this week. And when you said you wanted me to do a podcast today, I was like, oh, I don't know about taking a week off of work and then like doing a podcast, but I had a new meeting today. There's so many cool people in Asheville to work with. I feel so lucky. I feel like I get just the coolest clients. And
You're hitting on a big thing that like we're talking about all my favorite stuff, morning pages and the art and religion and gratitude. I think is like you have said many times that you're like I get to do what I want and like just you're I hear you saying that you're grateful, and I think that's like also prayer and gratitude and art and the morning page. It's all one thing.
Yeah,
and that's like you get older and your body starts to hurt, but you do learn things like this. You do kind of learn.
It gets ingrained.
Yeah, and it's all like my whole childhood. It was like gratitude makes you happier. I'm like, like you can't just have people tell you. You have to like live a life to really.
It did change my life at one point to start waking. And if you wake up and have your first thought be something that you're thankful for, I really do. It really does change your brain over time. It can be annoying at first. You feel like you're lying, but like I'm so thankful I have a pillow on my bed.
Yeah.
And then it slowly builds. And I don't know. I do think it can change your brain.
Yeah, I have a morning practice where I try to just like sit and, like call it meditation or prayer or just gratitude practice. And like I do it most days, and it's like, because I just start going on the day and messages start coming in. I start crushing life, like getting caffeinated. But if I can just make that time to kind of be like, this is what it really is. Like, let's have some intentions. It really does affect the day. In a very positive way, just 5-10 minutes. Yeah. But then I'll kind of fall out of it, and I'll be like, why am I getting so miserable? And then I'll bring it back in, and it will kind of.
I think it's definitely a good thing for mental health, especially if you're having a lot of negative thoughts all of a sudden, which can be chemically induced, honestly, especially if you're a woman going through any sort of cycle, which we all are basically.
I don't know what my excuse is, but I struggle with.
Men do too.
I mean, I struggle with that. Yeah.
You can flip your switch if you're like wake up and you're like. Well, I used to only allow myself to write positive spins in my morning pages. Like I wouldn't, if a negative thought started to be written, like somebody's mean to me, I'd be like, have to change that into like I would either not write it or try to adjust my thinking on it to it.
But sometimes you got it. Like you get angry sometimes, right? Like I mean, how do you navigate?
I'd rather talk about how I'd want it to be than how I don't want it to be in my morning pages. That's just my flaw. Like if someone did me wrong, which they do sometimes. Yeah. Then I would definitely be like, I'm looking forward to not talking to this person anymore. It sure will be great. I don't know, or this ending, or healing from this, or
kind of just flipping it.
This person did this, and it's over now, and I'm moving on, and I don't know, something else good's gonna happen next. Maybe not. I don't know. I feel like it works. I don't know. It's been a while since I've had someone crush me.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like stand up is a lot of like failure and that kind of stuff. So. I don't know. I think just getting older, though, is like what you were saying about like Libramento, who I definitely want to get on here, too. I don't even know if he's around in Asheville or what he's doing, but is like the possessiveness or the competition of like that. He's in my band. Like I think that kind of is more of like a young person's game. Yeah. And like it's almost like you kind of have to maybe go through that to get later. So I hang out with people in their 20s doing art that I just notice more of that competitiveness. And I'm just happy to be here, like still able to like move and
Well, I did research. I think competition can be stifling. Like, you can put yourself in a serious rut if someone's doing a kick-ass job next door and you're not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It can really shut you down. And so everybody goes through that at some point where you can't help it. Where you're like, why didn't I get that? Or why, it's just questions. But I read this. I came to the what is it? The opposite of defeat with competition.
Triumph?
Antidote. The antidote.
Okay, yeah.
Is appreciation and revelry. So, like, trying to just think about that person's unique gifts and be like high five, man, that's great, instead of like, I feel like a pile of dog shit.
Just
so good.
seething in the
So
corner.
I read this article about the Pet Shop Boys record by Beach Boys. You know, the famous Beach Boys album.
Pet Sounds.
Pet Sounds.
Yeah.
Sorry, Pet Sounds.
Yeah, I got you. You combined the two.
Yeah, sorry. My brain. So they wrote that album. It was so good. It was so good. It was like a masterpiece. And the Beatles heard it and they could have been like, I'm crushed. I'll never make anything. I'll smash my guitar. But instead, they're like, that's really cool. Now we want to make something that quality or better,
Yeah.
because it's inspiring me. I appreciate what they made. Now, and that's why I think that's what they did. And now for me, it's like, I want to see people's work because it's inspiring. And also hear their opinions. And I don't know, I think there's something to the collective mind for sculpting, like we've said.
Yeah,
your work a little bit.
And the competition, like, can be good. The stress of competition can bring more out. Like, I think Lennon and McCartney were always kind of like, I've heard Paul say, like, John would bring in some song, he'd be like, ooh, okay, and you have to go home and try to like write something as good.
Yeah, think about when you make your player best. You could never play a kick-ass basketball game if you didn't have a good competition to make you try harder, or even someone on your team who's really good to pass you the ball, right? So,
I mean, all the local comedians, we get shuffled up every week for the mics and put up in different orders, and it's like you're up next, and you're going up, and you're watching your buddy just fucking murder, and the audience, you're just like, all right, I gotta try to get up there, and sometimes it's like that was just the peak of the show, and you're just trying, but like it does kind of, if you can be open to it, it's like, all right, like you like high five them, and you're like, that's cool. I might die because you did so well, but that's gonna make me go home and try to like really write something better for next week. Good.
I think that's what our little songwriter group did too. It wasn't like
you don't want to be like no one else can do it, and you just go feel like like I only do the songwriter group with people that suck, and then like. That's not good. You're not going to grow.
Not at all.
You want to be intimidated, but there is a point where it can be like my last job. I was like, it was a startup, and it was like I was hired at the same time as this other guy on my team who's just like, I've never seen anyone just be so good at writing code, and and it was like the kind of thing where, like you were saying about the neighbor, where like I really struggled not to just like hate myself, because I was like, I just couldn't even. I was just like, I don't understand how someone's so good. And he just made it look so easy, So there's like a right amount of stress, but maybe
seeing other people and not seeing other people too,
Seeing other people.
Well, like I was saying, you look at other people's work, that can be inspiring. If you never do, you never do.
Right.
But have you ever gone off in the woods, like by yourself for an extended period of time, like off the grid?
No, it sounds great.
Because I think that's also a good antidote to being overwhelmed by competition, or just completely get off the grid and find yourself again. I think that's the only way. I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't know unless it happened to me on kind of accident, where I was left alone in the desert for like 3 days.
I think I am due for one of those, because it's just, I mean, the kids, the job, then it's trying to squeeze cool art stuff like this into every crack. Like I'm like every Sunday I'm like, what's my week like? Got a podcast, gonna hit these shows, the soccer practice, and it's like I'm like thriving in it, but I think there probably is. It is just when you said that, I'm like, man. 3 days just like in the woods, like
it doesn't cost much.
Dude, no,
if you already have a backpack
just
to go on
listen
the AT.
to the bugs and the water.
Well, the thing, like with the AT, it's like in certain parts there's so little presence of humanity in it. It's ancient.
Did you hike it?
I didn't do the whole thing. I did like a 5-day thing, and I was with a friend, but I was still alone.
Yeah.
There was been times where I've actually been. I wasn't the first experience that made me want to do the AT is because I just realized how you can really people around you can really take you off track. You don't even know. And then once you get alone, you're like, oh, I started this because that person wanted to, and now they're gone, and I'm still doing the thing that I never meant to do, and I just need to refigure things out and make sure, that's kind of what being by yourself can do. But
I have two friends that were like, we're going to start booking comedy shows. This is going to be the best. It was the dude's idea, and then they got like 6 months in, and he's like, I don't want to do this anymore. He just moved, and then the lady was like, a few months later, she's like, why am I still shoveling this? He's not even here anymore. Like I'm just.
I have the best story of this guy. He was like, a friend. He was like super tall, and he was fishing, and we were by this lake, and everyone was drinking, and we're sitting by the fire, and I'm sitting there talking to some friends, and he's trying to hit on a girl, and he catches this big old catfish, and he's like, Jenny, can you hold this catfish for me? I'll be right back. I'm just gonna go take Lauren to bed. I'm like, So I'm sitting here holding just. Like have a beer in one hand and a catfish in the other. Just one of those nights.
And he's taking forever.
And the catfish is like, and no one's really paying attention because we're all just, it's whatever. Music is on, and I'm like, fuck this catfish. I'm throwing in the lake.
Yeah.
No one's gonna eat this catfish. Is gonna sit here and die.
If this catfish mattered to you,
get the catfish shit out of your life, basically.
Yeah.
go back to AT. Toss the fish in the lake for it. It's not yours to hold.
Did the fish make it?
Oh, of course, it lived on to be a giant.
Because if you held it for
fish.
too long and you're like, and you threw it and it's still just dead, you'd be like,
still
me and the catfish.
It's like that's the kind of things people can put stuff on you and you're stuck. I actually have to be really careful about that.
Yeah.
Be very careful.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like hack that in reverse where I'm like, I've noticed that if I, have a conversation like this with somebody like you that I find interesting and full of great ideas, like it does the good version of that where it's like, then I'm like, yeah, that's right. Let's write the pages. Let's do the things. Let's have the gratitude. So it's like, letting what energy you let in, it does take you down different paths. So you can, with that in mind, you can kind of set up little checkpoints where these podcasts are kind of like a therapy session in a way. And it's weird too because like it started out being like, let's talk about jokes with other joke writers, but I've found I get even more interesting ideas about jokes from people who are doing like other mediums of art. You know what I mean?
Cool.
Like, like being influenced by an architect to write a song is actually might end up with a more interesting song.
Yeah. I learned that in graphic design. I guess maybe just they always said that don't go look at other graphic design. Go to a concert. Listen to some jazz or like look at some art or something that's nothing related to
steal from like things that aren't even the same medium, and then it's like it won't be the same. It'll be some new thing.
I love that. I love that stuff. Yes, you should take some time off. The desert is really great. Going somewhere where there's no, like I was saying, it's like there's no glimpse of there's definitely no power. No, it's like night. It's completely dark. It's like no sound.
Sensory deprivation.
Yeah,
tank or something. Right.
When I was in the desert, when I had my existential crisis, I didn't know I was having one, but it was like we had this trailer and we were in the desert and the wheel broke off and we were stuck. So my partner had to go into town and leave me there because someone had to stay with stuff. But I didn't know when he was coming back. We had a fight.
You're just holding that catfish in the desert.
Exactly. What's different? The worst, like a horrible catfish, and it's like either there was no cigarettes or beer or even food. I think we had like 2 hot dogs and some package of mayonnaise. There was like nothing left, and we're like, I'm alone. I've never been alone like that. I couldn't call anyone. I had none of my normal like thumb suck things.
Was it like you look out and you can't even see a thing?
No
it's just
sound,
like desolate.
No light, no noise, like completely alone. And it was like, this is gonna sound real extreme, but I was like, either go get his shotgun and shoot myself because no one's gonna know, which I would never do. It's that desperate. Like I had choices. I was by myself, and I decided, I was like, I'm making a change. I don't like who I am. I'm doing something about it today. And then I woke up the next day and it had snowed in the desert, which is amazing. So that's even a whole nother level of silence. You know how
Yeah.
it is after it snows and
Yeah.
you're like in the desert. There's no trees. You're literally in the middle of nowhere. And I thought I was all alone. And then I saw paw prints everywhere because there's animals living in the desert that you don't realize because they come out at night.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, I'm not alone. And I just started to change my life after that. And it was really profound to be alone like that. To not be able to call your friend and him tell you who you are or her tell you who you are or told you, reflect what you just have to figure out. It's
Yeah,
great.
I love that. And
Super
it
great.
takes the rock bottom kind of feeling to get that. If you're just kind of moving along medium disgruntled, you might
not even
don't have that
know you're
epiphany.
completely lost until you're alone and you're like,
Yeah.
dang, I see myself. Oopsies. Or yay. I don't know. I don't see how you couldn't.
I'm due for one of those. That actually sounds really nice. Like there are times where I kind of fantasize about being just like on an island and just being bored. Like boredom is like loneliness and boredom.
Yeah.
Like I hang out with like young people who complain. I'm like, those are the greatest privileges. When was the last time you were bored or alone? Like that's. I mean, I know those are real problems for a lot of people.
But I like it now too. I love that. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Oh, it's 2:15. Should we wrap up
good.
on that note?
Yeah, it's Ryan. This is fun.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Come back sometime.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank
Well,
you, Ryan.
Thanks, Jenny.